Beware lest you be taken captive. It's the idea there, to be taken captive by philosophy. I have known people in my Christian life who have begun getting into, intellectual pursuits, which are not wrong in the least. When I went back to school for my bachelor's in chemistry, I loved it. I enjoyed it. It got my mind working in ways that it hadn't worked before, because before that time, all of my college experience had been geared towards any course of study that did not include science or math. And then I go to get a Bachelor of Science in chemistry. You know what you have to do in chemistry? It's science and math. But it just, my mind, it was like a part of my mind opened up and new synapses were firing, and wow, this is cool, this is great. And I enjoyed it, and I actually thought about continuing on and seeking out a doctorate in either chemistry or physics. Because it's just, isn't it? It's exciting to know whatever that particular area of knowledge that gets you going. There's a stimulus to it, and it builds you up. And it can also take you captive and draw you away from the Lord God Almighty. While I was studying at Pitt, which is, believe me, not a Christian-oriented school and university by any stretch, many people came to me and realized I'm a pastor, I'm a Christian, and I'm studying chemistry at Pitt. Oh man, that must be so hard for you. No, not at all. Because actually within the classroom anyway, outside the classroom there was plenty of antagonistic behavior towards Christian beliefs, but within the classroom there wasn't. Of course, there was the assumption of evolutionary theory and natural determinism as being the origin of our species and of the world and so forth. Well, duh, I knew that before I signed up to go to Pitt, that was going to be there, and I wasn't going to convince them otherwise. So you just, filter it through and stuff. But I got to tell you, studying the creation at that depth of a level, at the micro level, at the macro level, as a believer in Jesus Christ, it can do nothing but deepen your faith. Deepen your faith to know, just as it says in the beginning of the book of Romans, hey, look at creation. God's very nature and invisible attributes are declared by that, so that no human being is without excuse to say, I didn't know there was a God. You can't look at creation and say, no, there is no God. You can come up with all sorts of ideas to try and avoid God, but when you dig down to the basis and at the very heart of those theories, you find out that there's a missing link. The beginning. The beginning. And here, that's in the first couple of verses of the book of the Bible. In the beginning, God. Okay, that explains it. That explains it, and we can have all kinds of interesting discussions about, is it a young earth or is it an old earth? Which is more correct, and what's the scientific evidence to show for one or the other? And how did all this happen? And was it actually just a big bang, or did God light the match of that big bang, or whatever it is? And those are fascinating ideas to come to, but ultimately, there is what Christian philosophers have called the unmoved mover. The one who cannot be moved, but can move anything else, and can move to create something out of nothing. Which, of course, one of the basic principles of modern day science tells us that that's not possible. Beware lest you be taken captive, whether that philosophy is chemistry, which I'm sure all of you would love to get deeper into, or at least a few of you, or whatever that idea and knowledge base is be careful lest it take you captive. Keep Jesus at the center of it.